Welcome to TV, Tennessee Valley Church. This week we continue the series on the Beatitudes. We're overlooking the valley of Bethsaida on the northern end of the Sea of Galilee. Not far from here on another mountain, Jesus spoke those beautiful, profound, and often confusing words we call the Beatitudes. Jesus says, "Blessed are the meek, for they shall inherit the earth." Inherit the earth was a phrase which had simply come to mean a blessing. In Alabama, if we say someone is eating high on the hog, that means he or she is living well. If someone says she's living the life of Riley, that means she is living well. If someone is in high cotton, they are rising up in society. Likewise, to inherit the earth was a phrase signifying one is living life at its best. Blessed indeed are the meek, for they shall live the fullest, richest, most abundant life possible. Meek is not a flattering term for most of us. We look down on the meek. We make fun of the meek. We don't pick the meek for our teams on the playground and probably not in the office either. Go to the self-help and leadership sections of a bookstore. You aren't going to find a lot of books on how to be meek. You'll find leadership secrets of Attila the Hun, but not much on meekness. I think part of the problem is that we don't understand what it means to be meek. Maybe we have not learned the difference between the meek and the weak. Meekness is not weakness. Meekness is power under complete control. The English word meek is a translation of the Greek word praos. Praos is not about being wimps. Meekness, according to the New Testament origins, is the intentional bridling or harnessing of our strength. The Greek word praos means tame, and in New Testament days was used of animals that by nature were aggressive, but that had been domesticated. What is it that thrills us about seeing lions perform in the circus? It's their meekness. These powerful beasts are jumping around like poodles and taking it when the tamer cracks his whip. Why does that so electrify us? It's their meekness. The fact that they could attack the tamer, but they don't. Why do we hold our breaths when the tamer sticks his head between the mighty jaws of the king of the jungle? It is the lion's meekness. There before our very eyes is an animal that has meat-eating instincts and the power to have the lion tamer for dinner. But the beast is choosing not to exercise its power. Meekness, then, according to its New Testament origins, is the intentional bridling or harnessing of our strength in order to defer to the needs of another. Meekness is the strength of restraint. James 3:17 reads, "But the wisdom from above is first pure, then peaceable, gentle, willing to yield, full of mercy and good fruits." Meekness means yielding to another when we don't have to, for the sake of the greater good. There's a dangerous spot near the entrance to Rockshire, the neighborhood where we used to live in Richmond, Virginia. Drivers coming off the main road into the neighborhood have the right-of-way. Drivers on the cross street have the yield sign. But not many people driving on that cross street choose to yield. They come barreling right through. It's as if people in the neighborhood got together and declared the yield sign on that cross street invalid. So if you ever enter the Rockshire neighborhood off of Robius Road in Richmond, be careful at that intersection. For even when you don't have to, you need to. Yield even when others are supposed to, for it would be easy to get hurt or hurt somebody even with the right-of-way. Of course, you have every right to keep going even if another car is plowing through, but you might get hurt or hurt someone if you choose to exercise your right not to yield. Meekness is coming up to an intersection of sorts in a discussion or a relationship and knowing you're right. You would be completely justified if you were to impose your will or insist on the last word. You have both the right and the power to put that knucklehead in his or her place. But to do so would absolutely wreck the relationship, devastate the person, and or hurt the cause of God's kingdom. Meekness says, I know I have the right of way here, but I'm going to yield to the other person for his or her good and for the good of the cause. In Matthew 11:29, Jesus said, Learn from me, for I am praus, meek, gentle, and humble in heart. Jesus is the model of meekness. Instead of breaking into history, riding on a meteor accompanied by angelic trumpets, Jesus eased gently into our world through a teenager's womb and a sheep stall. Instead of demanding the treatment he rightfully deserved, he slept where he could and ate what was offered and taught anyone who would listen. Then the greatest demonstration of his meekness came on the night prior to and the day of his crucifixion. In 1 Peter chapter 2, we read, To this you were called, because Christ suffered for you, leaving you an example that you should follow in his steps. When they hurled their insults at him, he did not retaliate. When he suffered, he made no threats. Instead, he entrusted himself to him who judges justly. Jesus was meek, and it was not for lack of power. He didn't strike back when the soldiers beat him. He didn't yell back when the crowds heckled him. He kept his cool, even with the saliva of Roman rednecks running down his neck. He endured the pain and humiliation of an old, rugged cross when, as the old gospel song says, he could have called 10,000 angels to rescue him. Jesus was meek in the true sense of the word. Meekness is usually invisible. No one knows, for example, the self-control a meek person is exercising when he or she is harnessing the strength sufficient to destroy someone and yet chooses not to retaliate, not to shame the person, not to harm the person. That's one reason meekness is so unpopular. We don't often get much recognition for the decision to be meek. Again, meekness is the intentional bridling or harnessing of our strength in order to yield to the needs of another. It is not meek to be wimpish or lily-livered. It is not meek to be a doormat. It is not meek to act like you're a nobody. It is meek to choose to yield to the needs of another. It is meek to have knowledge that you could use to hurt or destroy someone and choosing not to share that knowledge. It is meek to have the ability to inflict pain upon another and choosing not to. It is meek to forgive, to absorb the pain necessary to let something go. It is meek to ask humbly for forgiveness and to make restitution. Meekness is pulling up. If you watch football, you'll see the quarterback jump back to throw a pass while there are 3 or 4 defensive linemen charging in toward him. Sometimes you'll see a defensive player rush in without being blocked, and he's headed like a missile toward the quarterback. The quarterback releases the ball, and sometimes, unfortunately, the defensive player barreling toward him keeps on barreling. A vulnerable quarterback is sometimes just too great a temptation. So the pass rusher rams the quarterback, and the defensive player gets a penalty for roughing the passer. Sometimes passers get hurt, but usually, thank goodness, after the quarterback has thrown the ball, the defenders will pull up. There's something that happens when the quarterback throws the ball in the mind of the defensive player. Within about a half second, he thinks, boy, it sure would be fun to knock the block off of that quarterback, but I guess I ought not. And he pulls up. Meekness is pulling up. It is having the ability to inflict pain and choosing not to do so. It takes a strong person to harness his or her strength and not lash out and destroy someone. It takes the strength of meekness. How are you doing in the roles in which you hold power, either emotional power or organizational power or physical power? Are there any husbands, for example, who are acting like domestic dictators? Any husbands who treat your wives with disrespect simply because you feel that you can or like you think you have a right to? Are there any parents who take out their frustrations on their kids? Any moms or dads who are unhappy at work and thus our sons and daughters suffer because of it? I'm not talking about appropriate discipline. I'm talking about screaming and belittling in unhealthy ways. Are there any supervisors who boss around your direct reports because it makes us feel important? Blessed are those who intentionally harness their strength for the good of another, for they live a really good life. Meekness is powerful. When strength is harnessed, it is powerful. Do you want to be powerful? Then be meek. George Matheson said, if you want to see meekness, let us stand, he said, on the beach and see the mighty ocean with silver foam kiss the feet of the little child that plays on the shore. The ocean that could swallow the child is tapping gently at her feet. That is meekness. In just a few minutes, I'll be back from here on the mountainside overlooking the valley of Bethsaida to talk about what it means to be meek before God.
Let me be filled with kindness and compassion for the one for whom you love and gave your Son for humanity. Increase my love. Help me to love with open arms like you do. A love that erases all the lines and sees the truth. Oh, that when they look in my eyes, they would see you. Even in just a smile, they would feel the Father's love. Oh, how you love us. From the homeless to the famous and in between. You formed us and you made us carefully, 'cause in the end, we're all your children. So help me to love with open arms like you do. A love that erases all the lines and sees the truth. Oh, that when they look in my eyes, they would see you. Even in just a smile, they would feel the Father's love. Let all my life tell of who you are and the wonder of your never-ending love. Let all my life tell of who you are. You're wonderful and such a good Father. Oh, let all my life tell of who you are and the wonder of your never-ending love. Let all my life tell of who you are. That you're wonderful and such a good Father. Oh, that you're wonderful and such a good Father. Help me to love with open arms like you do. A love that erases all the lines and sees the truth. Oh, that when they look in my eyes, they would see you. Even in just a smile, they would feel
I'm here today with Anna and Jordan Money, and Abigail and Gabe, and gosh, it's been about a year and a half since we had a conversation previously about your adoption journey. And so I really wanted everyone to have an opportunity to hear some updates because you've come a long way. So for those who maybe didn't get to hear that conversation, can you let us know where you were at the time and what has happened since then?
Yeah, sure.
Go ahead.
Last time when we spoke, we were still in the waiting process. We had completed all the paperwork, but we were waiting to get matched with children. And literally a month after that was our 9th anniversary? Sorry. And we got a phone call about Gabriel. And, now he's been here close to a year. September 6th will be a year that we met him for the first time. So.
That's awesome. We are also glad that you're here, Gabe.
Yeah.
You were prayed for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
How has Gabe's presence enriched your family?
Really, like just his personality. I mean, he's just so sweet and loving, and he's truly been the missing piece that we've needed in our family. And we get told all the time, "Oh, he's so blessed, he's so lucky," and he is. But we're the ones who are blessed and are lucky because he just brings so much joy everywhere he goes.
What advice would you give to other people who are considering adoption? Because it wasn't always an easy process or choice for you.
I would say definitely it's a marathon, not a sprint. It's a lot of hurry up and wait, but the wait is worth it. How about you?
I would 100% agree. It's a marathon. We had COVID to wrestle with during our process, and it took us, a little over 3 years? Yeah, so sticking with it and just knowing that if you're called to be there, God has you there for a reason, no matter what, obstacles are thrown in your path during that journey. So
That's awesome. And you two really did feel called to provide a forever family for somebody.
yeah, no doubt. Well, we knew we were always interested in adoption, and we had talked about it, but moving to Huntsville, visiting this church, one of those weekends was Adoption Sunday, where we had mentioned all the resources with the One Less Committee, and how much this church just really helps to support adopted families. And so we knew it was we're either going to do it or we're not. All the resources are here, the support system's here, so we just went for it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And Abigail, you've been part of this journey too, right? Your family has changed a lot in the last year. And when you adopted Gabe, you got to go with your mom and dad to Colombia, right? Mm-hmm. Was there something that you really loved about that trip other than getting a new brother?
Yeah.
What did you love?
I like to go to the big park.
They have big parks there. Are they pretty awesome?
Mm-hmm.
That's great. I think I remember seeing your mom and dad post some pictures of that. That was pretty fun. That's great. Thank you so much for sharing your story. I'm thrilled to be able to walk alongside you for all the steps of it and to see your family grow.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We've been talking about meekness, mainly meekness before other people. But there's also meekness before God. God has given us what we call free will, the freedom to make our own decisions. And in that freedom is power. Of course, it's important to remember that this power of free will is granted by God Himself. He doesn't have to grant that to us. He could have created us to follow Him like robots. But He chose to grant us the power to make decisions for ourselves. Meekness before God, then, is submitting to Him, not because we have to, but because we want to. Meekness for us is to live in surrender to our Heavenly Father. Meekness is in saying, Father, not my plan for my life, but your plan for my life. When Jesus said, the meek will inherit the earth, He was quoting from the book of Psalms, Psalm 37, verse 11. In the Old Testament, the Hebrew word for meek literally means molded. It is from that image that we get the old gospel song, Have Thine Own Way, in which we sing, God, you are the potter, I am the clay. Blessed indeed are the meek, for they shall live the fullest, richest, most abundant life possible. I surrendered to Carrie Williams on July the 23rd, 1983, and I've been surrendering to her ever since. But not like this, with my hands stretched toward the sky, but like this, with my hands outstretched in front of me. I said, for better, for worse, for richer, for poorer, till death do us part. I had my hands stretched out in front of me. I didn't surrender to her because I had to, but because I wanted to. That's the kind of surrender I'm talking about when I talk about meekness toward God. Not because we have to, but because we want to. And the truth is, you can surrender now or surrender later. For according to Philippians 2, there is coming a day when every knee will bow and every tongue will confess that Jesus is Lord. So instead of waiting for that inevitable conclusion to history, perhaps today you'll choose to surrender your will now to Jesus. Blessed are the meek, those who voluntarily give up their power to hurt people and to defy God and choose to yield to people and surrender to God, for they will live life at its best.
You are the Word in the beginning, one with God the Lord Most High. Your hidden glory in creation now
Thanks for joining with us today. If you're new to TV Church, my name is Aaron Jackson, and I'm the Minister of Music and Worship at First Baptist Huntsville. We'd like to invite you to one of our 2 worship services here at 600 Governors Drive. Our contemporary service is at 8:05 a.m. on Sunday, or here in the sanctuary at 10:30 a.m. We'd love for you to connect with others that join you in watching this program every week as well. The best way to make those connections would be for you to go to tvchurch.online. Once there, you can hit the Contact Us button on the left-hand side to start that process. This is also where you can begin to connect with our shared online community, submit prayer requests, watch more episodes, and find other helpful resources. Thanks again for joining us today. God bless you.